How much can one specific skill set from one specific player impact a team, especially if that player is a flawed one? That's what I've been thinking about a lot lately, with a bunch of these Timberwolves trade target names flying around. If we're putting the big names like Giannis and Kawhi and Kyrie over to one side, these smaller names who are maybe more realistic like Morant, Jalen Suggs and Immanuel Quickley are all imperfect players. But they all have one really valuable skill set that would work really well for Minnesota. So how much does that one specific high-level ability help a team, this Timberwolves team in particular, and does that make a player worth their baggage? I think that's worth exploring for some of these theoretical options. Take Suggs and what he does as a point of attack defender, for example. He's a super flawed player, but he's one of the league's best on-ball attack dogs who would instantly change the dynamic of Minnesota's defense with this one skill set that he's elite in. He's a pit bull in pick and roll coverage, he's extremely active with his hands in getting deflections and forcing turnovers, and the Magic were way better defensively when he was on the floor because of those things. If deployed properly, every team can use someone who can not only get through ball screens, but then manage these compromised hostage situations and still recover to impact shots and force misses. Or someone who can read a player rejecting a screen and still beat him to his spot on the drives so that he can contest a shot and make life difficult for star level ball handlers. That's the thing that Suggs does to a really high level. Even this play against Anthony Edwards, the way he gets under a Gobert screen and straight back over the top of the re-screen, and then he switches but pushes Gobert back into his big man and then recovers back to contest the shot. That's kind of the superpower for Suggs. And on its own, that's obviously a very valuable superpower to have, and every top tier contender has one of these super aggressive and physical on-ball defenders who can handle multiple matchups on any given night. But for the Wolves, that might be even more valuable, because it allows their own point of attack stopper in Jaden McDaniels to switch into a more off-ball roaming role. McDaniels is a very good on-ball defender in his own right, and very capable of locking down ball handlers, but it does feel like the Wolves could extract a new dynamic for their defense if they allow him to become a roaming pterodactyl defensively, where he's actually probably better suited. Having a long, springy athlete who reads off-ball defensive situations to an insanely high degree is just about the most valuable defensive archetype a team can have. Just ask Giannis, Evan Mobley, Chet, and Jaren Jackson Jr. about their trophy cabinets from that exact same role. And the numbers put Jaden in that same category of off-ball monster. Players shoot almost 11% less than expected when he's the closest defender at the rim, which means he's saving a ton of rim points per 100 possessions and blocking a ton of shots for someone who's generally considered a wing. If the Wolves want to give McDaniels more offensive usage, which they would be if they don't trade for a bona fide star, then they need to lower his on-ball defensive output, and that makes perfect sense for him because he's so awesome in these situations. The more often they can start him off ball, the more often he can be the guy waiting at the rim to blow up drives and potentially easy points. That's what he does best defensively, but it only works if they have another point of attack defender there to take the load off him and allow him to roam. With someone like Suggs, you can get the best of McDaniels defensively to the point where I believe he'd be unanimously one of the best defenders in the league, but you can also spare him from clocking up huge miles defensively so he can spread his wings a little more offensively as well. To me, that's probably worth taking on someone like Suggs, who does have his own flaws as a shooter and as a decision maker, and that's the conundrum Minnesota might need to wrestle with this summer. Can they handle Suggs' flaws to empower McDaniels, or can they handle Immanuel Quickley's flaws and his big contract to put someone next to Anthony Edwards who helps his game flourish more? Because what Quickley does is shoot, and more importantly, shoot in a variety of ways. Ways that both give Ant an outlet when he's on the ball and allow him to be off ball more often. I think we know by now that Ant needs catch and shoot players around him. I mean, how often is he the one with this crowd of bodies surrounding him, with kick-out options dotted around the perimeter? Minnesota just needs to be able to make as many of those options knockdown shooters as they possibly can. Or how often did he get hard doubles and gap help against a team like OKC? That needs to be an easy read to his backcourt partner for a triple every single time. Quickley has his own issues, but this is an elite shooter in multiple situations. He's great off the catch on good volume, he can peel off screens and shoot, and he can operate out of dribble handoff situations and find efficient offense there as well. And I think that could even go up a notch playing with a player who commands the gravity that Anthony Edwards does. And Ant needs that. He had it with Donte DiVincenzo this season, but he won't for most or all of next season. And not only does he need the player next to him who can capitalize on his gravity as a shooter, but he also needs someone who can use it to get shots inside the arc. When Ant is seeing those two defenders, can they find someone who 1, forces a closeout, and 2, attacks it and gets into the paint? Now that is a player archetype that Minnesota just doesn't have enough of. DiVincenzo shot 40% on 1.2 drives a game last season, whereas Quickley shot 48% on over 10 a game. Both of them are elite shooters, and we know DiVincenzo does other very valuable things on the court, but having a player who can fully take advantage of Ant's gravity by shooting or driving a closeout would really give Minnesota's offense a different look, and that's all encompassed in the shooting package that Quickley would give them. And I think maybe more importantly, if Minnesota's front office can't get Ant a star level point guard next to him, they could at least give him another player who can make threes off the bounce, so he doesn't have to be the only one on the roster who can do it consistently. Along with Edwards, having another ball handler who can punish drop coverage defense where the big is sitting deep here would probably just eliminate that coverage from opposing teams' playbook when they play the Wolves. That forces teams to open up their aggression in pick and roll coverage, which opens up driving lanes for Minnesota, collapses defenses more often, and generates more drive and kick and catch and shoot game. I feel like having at least 2 fairly high usage pull-up shooters is pretty crucial for a really high-powered offense, and I just don't think Minnesota can get to that level without it. Now, Quickley isn't the perfect player by any means, and the contract is long and too expensive, especially for someone who certainly isn't a number 2 option offensively, but I do wonder how much having a shooter who can leverage Anthony Edwards in a bunch of important ways would actually raise Minnesota's ceiling, because I feel like it could be pretty significant. And if we're talking significance, significant name, significant risk, significant upside, there's no one who fits the bill more than Ja Morant. And even with all of his very obvious flaws right now, the one bankable thing Morant has is his passing and playmaking. Ja is still a top tier playmaker. He racks up assists and creates looks for his teammates at a level that is frankly only matched in the numbers by Jokic, Halliburton, Trey, and Luka. Now, how much you value this compared to the considerable baggage he brings elsewhere is up to you, but there's no doubting this is a legit plus in his game, and if you want a set-the-table kind of point guard, there just isn't a better one on the market right now, even with all the other stuff that surrounds Ja. And as is the case with a playmaking genius, everybody benefits when it's working. If you want Anthony Edwards and Ayo Dosunmu and Naz Reid and anybody who can shoot on this roster to get open looks from 3, Morant will create them. And it's not just from these simple swing passes. He's elite at reading the tag defender sliding across on the roll man and slinging skip passes to the open corner. That's a pass that just hasn't been in Minnesota's locker at all for a long time. To come off that ball screen, see the low man starting to rotate over, and then instantly pick out the corner is a serious offensive weapon, and those open corner threes are probably the most valuable non-rim shot in the entire league. Minnesota ranked 15th in corner 3-point frequency last season. Morant is one of the best players in the league at generating more of them, and I'd bet that creates a lot of easy catch and shoot looks that the Wolves just haven't had. Now the thing is that Morant combines the 3-point assists with generating rim assists as well, and that's what makes him super valuable as a playmaker. That could come out of pick and roll, where he's still going to get 2 on the ball a ton, so he can thread dimes through to the roll man, or because he's still got that insane gravity going downhill, he's going to fully engage the big defender, then drop it over the top of him to his rolling big for lobs and dunks. This would work with Rudy Gobert really well. It would accelerate Johan Berenger's growth. It would even work really well with Naz Reid flowing into this floater pocket. Again, it's just one skill set that allows other players to do more of what they are good at. He's also just going to generate rim assists outside of hitting the roller in pick and roll play. He's going to find cutting targets and dump off passes and guys who have found a sliver of space around the rim, because he's still got that rim pressure threat and the vision to exploit it, despite falling off in a bunch of key scoring areas. It's pretty easy to imagine him drawing the full attention of this gap helper and finding a backdoor cut from McDaniels or TJ Shannon or Ayo Dosunmu or hopefully even Anthony Edwards. Does that offset the shooting woes or the lack of defense or all of the off-court stuff? Maybe it doesn't. But if the Wolves do decide to walk the Morant path, I'd bet it's because they see the upside in having an elite playmaker alongside the play finishing options on this Timberwolves roster. Whatever way the Wolves do go, and there are plenty of other options outside of these 3 guys, they might need to ignore some pretty obvious flaws and focus on a single skill set that fits their roster and uplifts their core pieces. To me, that could provide some pretty massive benefits if they do get it right. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more off-season breakdowns coming up, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell me what you want to see the Wolves do this summer in the comments below. Thanks again for watching.